Joining us now in the studio, Senator Nicole Akins-Boyd. She represents District 9, which includes Lafayette. I'm thinking about Lafayette, Louisiana. I had a story on that earlier. Lafayette, of course, County. And Panola counties. Chairs the Senate Study Group on Women, Children, and Families and serves as the Vice Chair of the Senate Universities and Colleges Committee. So, Senator, good to see you. It's been a more active session than was anticipated to this point.
It has been a very active session, and I think I know we're just getting started. We are definitely, we are in full-fledged right now in full committee hearings. We have a deadline on Tuesday, and so we are going crazy right now over there. So with committee meetings and hearings and everything else.
So explain this first deadline for the benefit of our audience.
So the first deadline is every bill that's a Senate bill has to come through committee and get passed through sometimes multiple committees before we are able to take it on the floor. And you'll have a huge number of bills at that point that will die.
Yeah.
That they won't have time to make it onto the calendar, or the chairman just determined that this is not a good year for those bills, or maybe they're bad ideas.
Okay.
And so a lot of stuff will die at that point in time. So we've been super busy, really kind of going through. I had a subcommittee that I chair yesterday, and I think we went through about 20 bills yesterday.
Wow.
So we'll be kind of doing this in all our different committees. I think I went through this morning. I had 2 committee hearings, and I think we went through about 25 bills all total.
Okay. So one that you have authored is the Early Intervention Pilot Project. Tell us about that.
So one of the things that we did with the Women, Children's, and Families Committee is we had been hearing kind of from practitioners across the state that they were having children really that needed speech therapy, OT, PT, and they needed that birth through 3 intervention that is Part C of IDEA. Of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Yeah. And so that program operates in the state of Mississippi. We had a lot of hearing time devoted to that. One of the things that really disturbed us too is we're serving 1,650 kids last year. We know statistically that number should be between 10 and 12,000.
Wow.
And so why that's so important is this program is one of the greatest ROIs that you can get on education investment, because what it does is it diminishes those children's disability if they have a speech impediment, if they have OT needs, if they have PT needs. What it does is it really works with those children at a very young age while you literally can remap the brain. And so it pushes those pathways to help them form so they can get better language and all of that. And studies have shown that you greatly can diminish the number of children that are going to need special education services when they go into the traditional education setting if you intervene early.
Okay.
And so the impact for those children is a lifetime impact, because you're helping them with, really communication issues, things that are going to help them in their vocational environment and their home and all of those things. And so it's a really important program. And so we're not doing a good job on this. The statistics came out that we're some of the worst in the country of what we're really doing in this. So what we wanted to do with this is we have created a kind of a pilot program. That's kind of our proposal to see how we could run a different model of this that would be more of a university-based system. And it's a program, and it's typical with everything I think I told you earlier, is you start having people that are worried about their jobs, that are worried about things, and you start having people call into the legislature. I just got a phone call that's saying, why are you trying to do away with our jobs? Nobody's trying to do away with anybody's jobs. There's more than enough work in this state for every early intervention provider to work, because we need this. But they start getting missed messages, and it starts getting junk, and they start calling in going, I can't believe you're trying to take away my child's early intervention. No, we're trying to make sure you have more children have access to the services that you have. And it just, it's that protectionism of people just saying, oh, we don't want anything to change. Look, guys, we got to get this to change, because we're missing a huge opportunity here and a huge opportunity to help these kids, because we know that ROI is high when we help these children. So that's the only frustrating process too, is sometimes how the word gets out from people that maybe their ulterior motives are not the best because they just want things to remain the same.
Is this a situation where there's kind of a point of no return or a point after which there's diminishing return?
Not really on this particular age group, because we're talking about just birth through 3 here.
Okay.
And on this particular age group, there's not really diminishing returns here at all, because these children, what you can do, and I have had a child that had this intensive early intervention, and the achievements he made during that period of time were substantial. And
I guess what I'm saying, let me interrupt you, I'm sorry, that after that age, if they don't receive the treatment and the intervention during those critical years, and it's after that age, if you've lost some ground there?
It depends on the disability.
Okay.
It depends completely on the disability.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's for all children, though. This is an incredibly important time while we can help these pathways go and remain. So we're going to keep fighting this fight because it's a fight worth having. I've been so pleased to partner with so many people across the state to make sure that we really fight this fight, because this is where we really, as a state, can make sure not only that we do the right thing, but we're going to add value to these children and their education process and really diminish the services that will have to be offered these children later in life.
Yeah. And is this something, Senator, that it would be detected by the parents? And is there an educational component here where the parents need to be trained, perhaps, or educated to detect it?
They are. It is. But we also have tremendous practitioners across the state.
Okay.
We've really improved our outcomes in the state and really having our practitioners in the state, whether they be a pediatrician or a nurse practitioner, really making sure that they're given the proper evaluations as this child is coming in, and make sure, and what the complaints are coming a lot from these practitioners who say, I need to get my kids in these programs and I don't have spaces and I don't have the things to do that. So this is a truly important bill that really will affect a lot of kids and a lot of families, because when you get these kids where they can communicate better, it affects the entire family dynamic. Yeah. So I think this is one that we're going to be fighting to make sure that we can get done in the state. It's a good bill. And that's why we're going to pilot it, because we're going to see how we do it, and how we're going to heavily evaluate it, and how we can do a better job at programs across the state.
Okay.
So we've got a couple of more bills that came from this committee. One of them is a Foster Parents Bill of Rights. We heard from foster parents across the state. We heard from CASA. We heard from youth court judges saying we really need to solidify what the rights and responsibilities are of these foster parents, because we're losing foster parents because maybe these are not solidified. So we've got a Foster Parent Bill of Rights that we're pretty excited about. We've worked with a lot of foster parents on it. We've worked with a lot of court volunteers and court people, really looking at this bill to make sure that we can tighten up, to make sure that these foster parents really have a opportunity to go to these children's educational meetings, if they have IEPs, that they know about all these kids' medical needs, behavioral needs when they come into their home. And so our foster parents think that these are things that just really need to be solidified. So we've got that. We also have making sure that we have really look at our safe haven laws in the state, which is so important, because the safe haven laws right now, if a woman decides to that she does not want to care for the baby at the hospital, the adoption process was very similar to as CPS came and comes in, removes the child from the home. Well, this is somebody who's voluntarily given up those rights. So we need to simplify that process. Yeah. And so we've got a process here where we really simplify it. We've increased the time in this. Instead of 7 days, they have up to 30 days to be able to voluntarily turn over this child, and for permanent adoption, because our goal is to get these children into permanent placements as quickly as possible. Yeah. And so we've really cleaned up those laws. One of the other bills that we have too that I'm pretty excited about is we realized when we did the Women, Children, and Family Study Committee is that we really just touched the tip of the iceberg when it comes to adoption and foster care. And so we have a study committee, and we've given them a list of about 20 things that we want them to tackle and look at. And we're bringing in the experts, the people across the state who really are invested in this and know about this across the state, to advise the legislature on what to do.
Okay. I want to ask you some questions about just foster care in general, to the extent you are aware. when we come back after the break.
Okay,
we got
thank
Senator
you.
Nicole Akins-Boyd in the Element Well studio visiting with Senator Nicole Akins-Boyd. So just talking about the foster children system here in the state of Mississippi. And Senator, it's one of those that you don't see a lot. You're not aware of it, the average citizen, I would say. It's kind of not in your face. And I guess it doesn't get reported a lot in the news. There's not a lot of attention to it. But there's some sad situations.
There are some sad situations, and we have a CPS office that is diligently trying to find those children's homes and placement. And we've been in recent communication with them on. We're constantly talking with them, and I'm calling on situations that I hear of and all of that. And we have an extreme need for therapeutic homes in the state. There was a situation they were talking to me about earlier, that 2 children with disabilities, and really being able to find those therapeutic placements. And so they are being very aggressive, trying to fill in those holes, looking at different contractors, and really promoting what we can do to really encourage foster families, to get more foster families. So it is a special person that is a foster parent, and we have so many people across the state who want to open up their homes, don't know quite what to do, and then want to know how they support these other foster families. So I love to see churches get involved, because I think it's critical that when somebody does adopt a foster kid, that they also then are supporting those families that are really trying to help those kids as well.
Yeah, and of course, we were talking offline about the social workers. I suspect we still have a situation where the work overwhelms the staff. Just not enough of them. We don't pay them a whole lot.
No, and increasing the pay and the opportunities for those. Our commissioner has been, our CPS commissioner, she has been very diligent about pointing out what we need to do to increase that pay for our social workers. And we really do have to continue to do this. Because, I mean, when you're looking at the job that they have and the hours that they are on call,
which is 24 hours, by the way.
Exactly. So they have to really be on call at all points in times. And so we need to make sure that, as you often say, the marketplace demands a higher salary here than we're kind of giving them, and some of them. And so we need to make sure that we're looking at this pay for those social workers.
Yeah,
so
it's important, and it's a calling as well, as you well know, because they don't do it for the money they know going into it.
They're
not going to make a lot of money off of this, but getting involved in some very contentious situations, sometimes dangerous situations as well for these social workers.
Absolutely. And I think you'll find from our law enforcement no better cheerleader of our social workers, because they see firsthand those dangerous situations that those social workers get into. But I will say this, they can make a tremendous impact with the people across the state. And I see the same goes for our CASA volunteers who are volunteering and making sure they're staying in touch with those children throughout the process. They are doing some terrific work across the state.
Yeah. Well, we are grateful for the work. I shared with you that I have some personal experience with that, and golly, they're angels, honestly.
Absolutely.
So appreciate that, you working on that. All right, what else? Look at some of the other bills that you have filed, you've authored.
Yeah, so kind of in that same genre too is one of the bills that we have is a vulnerable adult registry. And so we've worked with the Attorney General's office. We're working with the Department of Public Safety on that too. When people are convicted of a crime of really hurting a vulnerable, and it's called a vulnerable adult, but it's also children come into play in that, many other things, is there's no centralized registry. So like, for example, my dad just recently passed away, but for a number of years I've had to provide caregivers or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so as a private citizen, there's no really way for me to do a background check to see if someone's ever been convicted of mistreating someone, being guilty of a vulnerable adult statute. And so we, as people age and we have a growing elderly population, we need to have something for the general consumer and for hospitals and people that want to caregiving agencies who want to hire somebody to really look and see if there's been any convictions of that. And so this is a simple bill. It's a registry. And so the Attorney General's office is responsible for prosecuting those. those. And then we're trying to work with like DPS to see if we can, house the registry there.
Yeah.
So it's it's pretty straightforward, but it would be a tremendous tool for families to be able to use across the state.
Yeah.
When you're caring for those.
Well, I haven't thought about that, but I guess a lot of these situations may occur and may be committed by certain people, and then we end up placing more adults in their care without the knowledge that they had done this in the past.
Exactly. So this is something that we can do to really kind of solve and alleviate this situation. And I've also got another really kind of interesting bill, too, is that actually, and I will tell you, it came from Louisiana. Louisiana passed a bill last year that requires pornography websites. If you have more than 33% of your site is a pornography website, you have to make sure that you have some ability to do some age verification.
Okay.
And so you think about it. We have age verification when you go to the movies to see an R-rated movie. You have all these different things if you want to purchase cigarettes, if you want to purchase anything. But this, I'm holding up my phone right here, but this phone, every teenager in America has one of these phones, and they have the capacity to get on these pornography websites with no age verification at all.
Okay, how are you going to do that?
So we're really looking at the Louisiana bill, where they do require them to submit their identification. There's also things that make sure that identification is protected when they submit to those sites. But I was just literally flabbergasted. I just really had no idea about this when we started looking at this issue. Is the number of visits each month to pornography websites. And pornographic websites in this country garner more internet traffic than Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Wikipedia combined.
Been that way for a long time, and the content that is stored and available via the World Wide Web mostly consists of pornographic content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
Yeah. So this is again a pretty straightforward bill. They'll have to have some age verification on this, and these particular sites will. Louisiana's just went into effect in January, and it was a bill that passed their legislature with complete bipartisan support, and I think it was unanimous in both chambers there.
Okay.
So that's one of the big things that we have, just another way to try to protect our young kids from, because I've had some psychologists reach out to me and have told me that this is a very significant problem.
Oh, it's an epidemic.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And it's been evolving for quite some time because there's just so much more content, and it's lucrative for the creators of that content.
Yeah. So we're also going back. Again, we had it last year. It passed the Senate last year. Didn't make it through the House. Another open meetings, what I'm calling an open meetings law, to make sure that they put those anytime any board or commission does a meeting, that you put those on Facebook Live or some way for people to watch it.
Yeah.
When my constituency is 2.5 hours away, and for them to be able to watch a meeting in Jackson, it's just efficient. And it's something we started doing during the pandemic, and we need to continue doing this because sunshine is helpful to everybody.
Well, I'm surprised most aren't already doing that.
A lot of them are, but a lot of them, I think that's probably why it died. A number of them didn't want to have to do that. So I think they complained. I do know they complained about it greatly last year. So we're going to push that bill again, and hopefully we can get some sunshine in there. Yeah, simple, inexpensive. Simple, inexpensive things that we can make.
No excuse anymore.
Exactly. And so,
okay.
Yeah.
That's all good. Well, I've seen some other bills here as well. How about this Seizure Safe Schools Act? What's that?
So working with Representative Jill Ford and this bill, and it puts in place, too, for school districts, when children have seizures in school, it really puts a process in place. It also makes sure that there is the school nurses and anybody that would give the child the seizure medication once a seizure interacts too, it gives them some protection a little bit on that. But it also makes sure there's a plan in place, that everybody knows that kid has a seizure issue, and this is how you do it, and this is how you respond. It's a pretty straightforward bill, and it makes sure that all parties really communicate with each other on that.
That seems like a good idea. So are we requiring then the teachers to be trained?
They get a little. The teachers will have to get a little bit of training on this, but quite frankly, it's one of those things that teachers need anyway, because, I remember my daughter being in a 8th grade class, and she recognized it because of some training that she had had.
Okay.
And the young lady in front of her broke out, and it was the first time she had a grand mal seizure at the school. So, teacher didn't know what to do and all of that.
Yeah, just recognizing, knowing how to respond.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just keeping everybody safe.
Makes sense. Senator Nicole Akins-Boyd has been our guest here on Middays. Appreciate you coming in, Senator.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We'll take a break right here. Coming right